Max Weber, one of the fathers of modern sociology, didn't just see the economy grow. He saw what no one wanted to see, the transformation of the human being into a play, not a play, but a machine. His darkest warning came with a name that few understand, but many live, the iron cage. In theory, work should be an expression of the soul, a chance to contribute, create, and leave a mark on the world. But with modernity, something has changed. Work has stopped being a purpose and has become a prison, a cold routine where you are no longer yourself. You are just your badge, your position, your role. Weber realized this before anyone else. He said, "The rationalization of the modern world kills the spirit. In the name of efficiency, order, and productivity, everything has been codified. Processes, rules, metrics. Human beings have become algorithms. You come in at 9 a.m., leave at 6 p.m., and at the end of the month, you get paid to continue not being you. But what exactly does this steal? Your identity. That part of you that dreamed of being an artist, a traveler, a writer, a caregiver, an inventor, slowly dies. You learn to stop listening to your inner voice. You learn that you can't stop. That questioning slows you down. That creating isn't worth the risk. That being different threatens your livelihood. And then the gear wins. You keep going, not out of passion, but out of fear. Not because you love what you do, but because you see no alternative. Modern work does something cruel. It turns your role into who you are. And the more you try to stand out, the more you are reminded that no one is irreplaceable. The system doesn't want your soul, it just needs your surrender. And Weber understood this like no one else. And the most dangerous thing? You start defending your own prison. You call it discipline, but it's fear. You call it stability, but it's panic about change. You call it normal life, but you've lost everything that made you unique. The modern cage is made of contracts, bills, and status. And Weber warned us, it doesn't need locks, because it acts inside your mind. You convince yourself that this is just how life works, that there is no escape, and time passes. Years become decades, and one day you realize that it wasn't the world that shaped you. It was you who erased yourself to fit into the world. Weber called this the disenchantment of life, the loss of magic, of meaning, of the sparkle in your eyes. And the origin of this is not in great tragedies. It is in everyday life, in the work that drains you, in the boss who suffocates you, in the system that sells you a salary in exchange for who you were. The question is, how much of your identity have you sold without realizing it? Modern society has not only taught you to work, it has taught you to define yourself by your work. Ask anyone, who are you? And the answer will be, I'm a lawyer, I'm a manager, I'm an intern, I'm an entrepreneur. Almost no one says, I'm someone searching for meaning, because that doesn't fit on LinkedIn. Weber saw that modernity has created a new religion, the religion of careers, and it has its temples, companies, its rituals, meetings, its gods, CEOs, and its promised paradise, retirement with financial stability. But the cost of this faith is high. You don't realize that in order to keep climbing, you have to keep dying inside. You are praised for sacrificing time with your children, for working late, for not taking a vacation in years. This is seen as merit, but it is alienation. Little by little, you no longer know what you would do with your free time, because your identity has been completely absorbed by the badge. Weber said, the process of rationalization doesn't just organize, it suffocates. It turns everything into calculation. You no longer choose something because it's good for you, but because it gives you a return. The questions change. From, does this make me happy? To, is this profitable? From, does this represent me? To, does this give me status? The soul loses space to the career plan, and then you start competing, not with others, but with an idealized version of success. That colleague who is already a manager at 28. That friend who has traveled to 12 countries. Those productivity posts at 5 a.m. And the more you run, the more you empty yourself, because the path was never yours. It was designed for you to run without stopping. The irony? You call this personal fulfillment. But Weber warned, the fulfillment the system offers you is shaped to keep you inside it. Modern logic doesn't want you to discover your essence. It wants you to function, to remain useful, to produce, and, if possible, to smile while doing so. That's why so many people wake up exhausted today, even without physical effort, because tiredness is spiritual. It's the weight of living a role that doesn't match who you are. The pressure of maintaining a functional mask when everything inside you screams for meaning. And no one knows this better than someone who is doing well in life, but feels a nameless hole inside. That's why you can have the salary, the position, the house, and still not recognize yourself in the mirror. Weber was not against work. He was against the kind of work that takes you out of yourself. And in the modern world, that has become the rule, not the exception. If your identity is tied to what you do, the question is, who would you be if this all ended tomorrow? Weber observed something that remains terrifyingly true today. Society doesn't just want you to work. It wants you to not think about why. You are trained to follow a routine. Wake up, complete tasks, submit reports, set goals. But never to ask, what is this routine doing to me? Because if you stop to reflect, the system is at risk. That is why, from an early age, we are educated to obey and not to understand. The modern world of work is organized like a giant cogwheel, and the secret to a cogwheel working is that each piece believes it is doing something useful, even without understanding the whole. You may be essential to the company, but you are still invisible to yourself. Weber said, bureaucracy is one of the greatest inventions of modern rationality, but it is also one of the most inhumane, because it depersonalizes everything. You no longer serve a person, you serve a protocol number. You no longer have an idea, you have a procedure. You are not creative, you are trained to follow instructions, and little by little, something breaks. Have you ever noticed how many people only survive from Monday to Friday, waiting for the weekend to live a little, as if life were suspended during the week and only allowed on Saturdays? This model is not natural. It is a social construct. It is the culture of productivity that hijacks your days. Worse, the weekend becomes anesthesia, not rest. You drink, binge-watch series, sleep too much, not because you're resting, but because you're running away. Because there's a silent anguish. You know you're getting lost, but you don't know how to get out. Weber explained that the disenchantment of the world comes precisely from this. You no longer feel that you are experiencing something sacred. Time has lost its shine, doing has lost its purpose, and repetition has become your undeclared religion. Everything is urgent, everything is numbers, everything is performance. And in this world where only what generates results counts, who you were before all this disappears. Your childhood dreams are shelved as immature. Your natural gifts are stifled by quarterly goals. Your creativity is seen as a distraction, and your vulnerability is labeled as weakness. So you pretend to love meetings that you hate. You pretend that bonus is worth your mental health. You pretend that everything is fine, when really you're just exhausted from not being able to be you. Modern machinery demands this, that you fake it so well that you forget you're faking it. Weber saw this process with frightening clarity, and he left a warning. When rationality becomes the absolute rule, human beings cease to be ends and become merely means. The question that echoes is simple but urgent. Do you still remember who you were before the world trained you to produce? There comes a time when you realize you are fulfilling all expectations, but you feel increasingly empty, and no one sees it. Because on the outside, everything is working, but on the inside, You have become a stranger in your own life. Weber warned that the rationalization of modern work not only created efficiency, it created alienation. Not the visible, chaotic alienation, but a silent alienation disguised as normality. The feeling of being present, but not belonging. Of doing a lot, but experiencing nothing. How many times have you found yourself asking, "How did I get here?" Or, "Is this all life has to offer?" This everyday coldness has a deep origin. You have been removed from the creative process. In modern work, you are no longer the author of what you do. You are merely the executor. You do not think about what you create. You simply do what you are told, and this disconnection slowly kills your identity. Weber saw it clearly. Extreme specialization turns people into functions. You are no longer a complete human being. You are just the analyst, the technician, the supervisor. The world values your usefulness but forgets your essence. And the cruelest thing? You begin to forget yourself too. You don't know what you like anymore, only what you have to deliver. You don't know what you feel anymore, just what you need to hide. You don't know what you dream of anymore, only what you can afford. And the more you adapt to the role they gave you, the more you lose the name you had inside. This is the modern trap. It rewards those who pretend better, those who seem productive even when they are sick, those who achieve goals even when they have no soul, those who make things happen even when they are dying inside. And so you start collecting little deaths, the death of authenticity because you can't be who you are, the death of joy because everything became an obligation, the death of hope because the system seems bigger than you. Weber knew that this was the real crisis of our time, the crisis of meaning. Modern work promised progress, but delivered repetition. It promised freedom, but locked us into schedules. It promised fulfillment, but took away purpose. And the result is this chronic fatigue that many people carry, but don't know how to name. You're not just tired of work, you're tired of no longer recognizing yourself in the life you've built. The solution? It's not about giving up everything. It's about remembering who you were before the system formatted you. It's about recovering your voice, your dreams, your choices. It's about taking control of your time again, even if it's little by little. It's about breaking, even if discreetly, with the logic that says you're only worth what you produce, because you were not born to function. You were born to live. And Weber wanted you to know that before it was too late. Great. Here's Block 5, 3,000 characters. The closing of the script Weber knew. Modern work steals your identity. Block 5. Breaking free from the cage, even if you're still inside. Max Weber was never a pessimist, but he was never naive either. He knew that the modern world would never again be magical, spontaneous, or intuitive. He knew that rationalization was here to stay. But he also knew that the human soul is stronger than any structure. So his real warning was not to destroy the system, but to not get lost within it. Today, the biggest challenge is not quitting your job or giving up everything. It's not letting the system erase your identity. It's remembering every day that you have a life and that it's more than a spreadsheet, a badge, or a time card. You can be inside the cage and still keep your spirit free. As claiming your time, even if it's just 10 minutes a day, to write, to create, to pray, to breathe, to remember who you are outside of the roles the world has imposed on you, back to asking questions. Why do I do this? Who have I become? Does this have to do with what I dream of, or just what I was told to want? Relearning to desire. The system shapes your desires. It tells you that the next job, the next salary, the next goal will make you happy. But Weber said, the modern world distances you from the sacred, and the sacred is precisely that which cannot be bought, taking care of the soul. This is not mystical talk, it is resistance. Taking care of the soul is not letting the world erase what you feel, love, and believe. It is keeping alive the spark that the system wants to extinguish. The great trap of modernity, according to Weber, is to make you believe that there is no alternative, that life is limited to this, that everything else is utopia. But the truth is, the system can dictate your hours, but it cannot steal your essence without your consent. You don't have to give up everything to resist. Just remember every day that there is something in you that no machine, algorithm, or boss can capture: your humanity. And if the whole world has decided to turn into a gear, perhaps your greatest revolution is to remember that you are still human. Because in the end, Weber didn't want you to rebel against work. He wanted you to wake up before waking up became impossible. And if you felt this call while reading this, it is already a sign that the cage did not win. There's still something of you pulsing inside.